welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Gregory Doyle. This is a scorecard reaction video to the close fight that we saw in Liverpool over the weekend between Natasha Jonas and Mikaela Mayer, which saw Natasha Jonas successfully defend her IBF welterweight title in her home city of Liverpool. Greg, good to be joined by you whenever there's kind of controversy or a debate to be had. We like to think we're all over it. And yeah, here we are. Two judges gave the fight to Natasha Jonas, both close scorecards, and one judge gave it 97-93 to Mikaela Mayer. I think most people who are watching this video will have seen a lot of people think the wrong person won the fight. A lot of people are calling it kind of a hometown robbery. So we're gonna go straight into it and see how you scored it. Basically, we're not going to kind of analyze the fight too much. It's just this is kind of like a round by round, what you thought and who you thought won that round. I know kind of you thought Natasha Jonas started the fight quite well, so we're going to kick it off and ask you, round one, who you gave that to and why.
Yeah, thanks, Eliot. The first round I gave it to Natasha Jonas. I think all of the rounds you could say they were, I wouldn't say overly debatable, but they were close enough that you could make points for both fighters. But if we can look at round one, Eliot, earlier in the week I said to Paul Kelly, Natasha Jonas has to adopt an old amateur style, hold that hand out, bounce in and out of distance and land shots and not get hit back. She's done it perfect in round one. She landed the tailing shots, and yeah, I had her winning that first round for me.
No, brilliant. Gonna go right into round two. Obviously, there are 10 rounds to discuss here, so we're just gonna go straight into it. But yeah, 10-9 to Natasha Jonas, 1-0, however you want to say it. Round two, who did you give that one to, Greg? Was it 2-0 to Jonas, or was it 1-1?
It was 2 rounds to Jonas for me, and you know it's interesting, Eliot, because in the post-fight interview, I think Mikaela Mayer actually said she gave Natasha Jonas the first 2 rounds as well, and I did on my scorecards. More of the same, that old amateur style, bouncing in, landing 2, 3 shots, getting out of distance, and making Mikaela Mayer overreach and commit. So the cleaner work for me came from Jonas in that round. So yeah, it was another Jonas round from me.
No, brilliant. Yeah, no, I remember I remember what you're talking about in terms of Mikaela Mayer admitting that she maybe started a bit slowly, and yeah, I don't think I think some people would maybe disagree, but I don't think a lot of people would disagree that those first 2 rounds belong to Natasha Jonas. But yeah, another 8 rounds to go. Know you saw round three a bit closer, Greg. How did you see that
Yes.
one?
Elliot, I actually scored that one even. I couldn't really split both girls because I felt Mikaela Mayer made the adjustments that she needed to, but they were controlled adjustments. They weren't adjustments where she grabbed the bull by the horns. It was almost as though she found a little bit more belief in the work that she was trying to do. But Natasha Jonas was still landing those nice counter shots. What's important with these fights, Elliot, is a lot of people go into these fights watching it with a narrative. If a round's close, I need to score that to Mikaela Mayer because if this goes to the scorecards and that's a close round, they'll give it to Jonas. You have to watch a fight and just score it as you see it. So for that one, for me, I scored it even. Elliot. I found it very, very difficult to split both girls. A lot of good work from both.
Yeah, and worth mentioning, one of the official judges, Michael Alexander, scored it 96-95 to Jonas. He would have given 1 round even. I don't believe the official scorecards have been released.
Yeah.
Sometimes in boxing, the scorecards do come out for the public to see, and sometimes they don't. That doesn't make any sense to me, but boxing a lot of the time doesn't make any sense. So we don't know which round he scored. We scored even, or which rounds he gave to Jonas or Mikaela Mayer in that sense. Two rounds to Jonas, 1 round even. Yeah, and I think possibly Mikaela Mayer started to come into this fight during round four, Greg.
She did. She started working really well behind the jab in round four, Elliot, which was really good because she used her jab to set up combination shots of her own and started to really plant her feet. And like I said, she built on that belief from round number three. So I thought she landed the cleaner, harder shots in round four, and I scored that round to Mikaela Mayer.
Yeah, so it's obviously on your scorecard, it's getting fairly close now as we're getting to the halfway stage. Obviously, just the 10 rounds here, 10 2-minute rounds rather than 12 minute round, 12 rounds, sorry. Round five, Greg, who did you give that to?
Believe I scored that round to Jonas. I think she felt a little bit of the pressure having given away rounds 4 and potentially 3. Round 3 was very close. I couldn't split it, but I think she came back quite well, went back to her game plan a little bit and was making Maya overreach. So again, a very close round that I scored to Natasha Jonas.
Yeah, no, of course. Look, I think there's kind of a, I don't want to say theme developing here. My personal thoughts on the fight, and we'll maybe touch on this at the end, is it was just very, it was a close fight, and a lot of the rounds were hard to score. I actually think this is maybe a discussion for another video, but I would love to see a rematch with 3 minute rounds, if I'm honest. I think one of the issues with women's boxing is there's 2 minute rounds, and in those 2 minutes rounds, you can get a lot of limited action in those 2 minutes, which therefore concludes in us it being hard to score rounds, which turns into situations like this when possibly the home fighter, the more supported fighter, gets the round by the judges, which is unfortunate. In the second half of the fight now, Greg, round 6, I believe you swung that one back to Mikaela Mayer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Eliot. She started to plant her feet really well. And I think in this round, I had her starting to hurt Natasha Jonas a bit. Now, you look at a lot of the analysis on the lead up to this fight. It was all about Maya putting the weight on, and she carried the weight well. Did anyone actually give her the credit to say that she could potentially hurt Natasha Jonas? I know that I did. I said that she's a big girl. She'll put on the weight. She had that little bit of a height difference, but she really planted her feet in round number 6, and she landed some real nice power shots. And foregone conclusion, I had to score that round to Mikaela Mayer because she very much so deserved it.
Yeah, I think it was a really interesting part of the fight here. We're in the second half. Some people have Jonas up, some people have Mayer up, and it's getting to that point when you know at the end of the 10th round it's going to be close. This is not going to be kind of a shutout. I think. Look, there were a lot. I think I was hearing the word draw a lot around me as well. I think some people thought he was heading in that direction as well. Yeah, round 7. So kind of getting into kind of what they call, the championship rounds, the final few rounds of the fight. Who did you give that one to, Greg?
Elliot, I gave that round again to Mikaela Mayer. I thought that it's almost like something in Mikaela Mayer. She knew that she was going to have to perform really well to get a decision in Liverpool. Me personally, I hate the politics. I like to just look at a fight, doesn't matter where it is, and score it. But a lot of these fighters are coming over here, or we're going abroad, Elliot, and we know that we need to have big rounds to make it obvious that a round is won. But I really did think that Maya started to really work well behind that jab, work the body. Some of the hooks were beautiful that she threw. I scored that round to Maya quite convincingly.
Yeah, so obviously seven rounds down, you've got it 3 apiece with 1 even. So according to your scorecard, with 3 rounds left, you've got it extremely close and all to play for. Gonna keep this ship sailing. Round 8, Greg. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, Elliot, round 8, again, it was another very, very close round. I think at first glance, I thought about scoring this round even because I thought, Mikaela Mayer's doing a lot of nice, aggressive work here. But when I really dissected it and watched it on mute, might add, if you look at some of the shots, Mikaela Mayer, she was overreaching slightly in round 8. And I think a lot of Natasha Jonas's good work wasn't really getting picked up unless you watch it very closely. She landed a lot of nice counter shots. She spun off from the shots as well. And it made Mayer look a little bit, I wouldn't say silly, but overcommitting at times. So I gave Natasha Jonas that round, and to be honest with you, I think she needed it.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think you're right there. Look, I think as I've kind of said, it would be interesting to look at the official scorecards and see where Jonas was at the end of round 8. Because yeah, according to your scorecard, kind of Mikaela Mayer needed to win those last couple of rounds. Entering round 9, Greg, who did you give that one to?
This was the most interesting round of the fight for me, Elliot, because I would love to know. I watched the fight on, as I say, I didn't have a lot of volume on it because I really wanted to concentrate and make my own mind up. one of the things that you lose when you do that is I would love to know what the corner said to Mikaela Mayer at the end of round 8, because she came out like a girl possessed. And that round was one of the most convincing rounds in the fight that I scored to Mikaela Mayer. Hard power shots, had Jonas against the ropes. At times looked as though she hurted her. And at that point, I started to get really, really nervous for Natasha Jonas, because that was a really, really big mare round for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think one thing about this stage of the fight, Mikaela Mayer has gone the distance considerably more times than Natasha Jonas and won. Natasha Jonas obviously gone the distance twice in her career and lost. That's happened once to Mikaela Mayer in the fight against Alicia Bumgardner. But yeah, it was I agree with you. It was a very entertaining last couple of rounds. But I would like to think most people go those to Mikaela Mayer, but maybe not. Final round, Greg. All to play for
Yeah.
on most people's scorecards. Who did you give the final round to?
Eliot actually gave it to Mikaela Mayer. I looked at the round number 10, and I think what won Mikaela Mayer the round is I thought Jonas looked really fatigued in the last round. I thought she looked as though she was sagging a little bit at times, and Mikaela Mayer still had that little bit of a spring in her step to say, I need to pick these rounds up if I'm going to win this title. So she had that extra incentive, went chasing the fight, landed hard power shots, and I just thought that she'd done the better work in round 10, and I gave that round to Mikaela Mayer.
And there we have it. So you scored this fight 96-95 to Mikaela Mayer.
Yeah,
I might get a bit of stick for this. I personally scored it 97-93 to Mikaela Mayer. Repeat
yeah,
what I've said. A lot of those rounds are very hard to call.
yeah.
And it was an extremely close. It was an extremely close fight. One of the official judges, Greg, did have it 97-93 to Mikaela Mayer. Two other judges, Frank Lombardi, 96-94 to Natasha Jonas. And finally, Michael Alexander, as we said, 96-95 to Natasha Jonas. Just as we round off, could I just get you to comment on those three on those three scorecards, please?
Yeah. Um, what I would say, Elliot, is sometimes you have to look at. It sounds silly saying this, but you have to look at other things other than the punches thrown, and um, basically what I'm trying to say, Elliot, is a lot of judges can be swayed and they can almost be conned by, say, there's an exchange and the aggressive fighter lands that one more shot. But see the way that the back foot fighter will step away, drop their hands and things, and look as though they've come out of the exchange the better, even though they've not. There's ways to con the judges a little bit. And I think that's maybe why some of those rounds, I'm maybe being kind to the judges, that they swayed that much in favour of Natasha Jonas, because she looked a little bit more stylistically better than Mikaela Mayer. But you need to look and see who's landing the shots, how they're coming out of the exchanges, etc., and that's what matters. So I think if I'm being kind to the judges, I think they were maybe conned at times by the body language coming out of the exchanges by Natasha Jonas, but that's not how you score a fight. So I believe that I've looked at it with a real pair of honest eyes.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, with the volume off, which I think is an important thing to do
Yeah,
when scoring fights as well. Really interesting stuff, Greg. Look, I think you had it very close. I think a lot of people had it close. Um, I think calls of this being kind of a complete robbery are unfair. But was this kind of a hometown decision? Possibly. That's maybe kind of
yeah,
for another video, but we'll see. I personally saw comments from Johnny Nelson earlier saying maybe there should be a rematch, but will there be? Probably not, because there's in Natasha Jones the stage of this career, that stage of that she's in her career, there are kind of other big fights available. So
yeah.
I kind of it's hard to see a rematch, but we will see. Greg, thank you for your time. Enjoy the analysis as always. Sure, we'll be doing this sort of video again when we get another controversial scorecard in the not too distant future. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, Elliot.